This is once upon a non-time, December 15th. Go to Bethlehem? That's no easy trip. It was a cheerful day outside. The village children were playing in the sunshine while the birds sang beautiful music. But when Joseph walked in with bad news, it was like a thunderstorm struck. "We have to leave Nazareth, Mary." "Leave?" Mary said, shocked. "There's a new tax, a census," Joseph continued. "I heard the news in town. We have to go to our home country." "You mean Bethlehem?" Mary asked. "But we were just getting settled here, and my baby is almost due, and, Caesar has the worst timing possible." "I know you're frustrated," Joseph replied gently. "I am too, but I have family there, and it's only a 9-day journey, and, more like 2 weeks with me," Mary interrupted. "Besides, there's wild animals and thieves, and, did I mention I'm about to have a baby?" she said sarcastically. Joseph smiled. "You are? Oh, I thought you were just gaining weight." "Hey!" Mary hit Joseph's arm. "You know, Mary, there's not much I can do about this. I hate it, but the sooner we leave, the sooner you can get into that comfortable house." "True. You'd be arrested if we stayed." "Okay." This will be our first family adventure. Mary was determined to make the best of it, so she started packing. A couple days into the trip, Mary said, "This has been easier than I thought, Joseph." She was riding the donkey while Joseph walked beside her. "The path is flat. We haven't had problems." Joseph looked into her eyes. Her words were confident and brave, but concerned. "But Joseph," she continued, "what if your family has no room? What if we get there and all the guest rooms are taken? All Jews are under this taxation, right? Well, Bethlehem's only a village of, 1,000 people?" "That's right," Joseph replied. He rubbed his teenage beard, about 20 strands of hair poking out of his bony chin. "I hadn't thought about that. All our relatives will be coming. All of them are older than us. We left in such a rush, "Oh, Joseph," said Mary, sounding nervous. I can't have my baby, especially this baby, just anywhere. Maybe, should I turn back?" "But Mary," Joseph scrambled for words, "if I don't register, who knows what would happen? I don't think—" "Oh!" Mary cried. "What was that?" She cut him off mid-sentence. She grabbed her belly with one hand as she steadied herself with the other. Joseph helped her to the ground while some of the other travelers passed by. "What? Are you okay?" he asked, eyes wide with worry. Is it time?" "I have no idea," Mary said, breathing hard. "Something just sort of grabbed me, Joseph. Now I have to go home." 3 or 4 ladies gathered around to help Mary. They poked her and patted her, asking her questions that made Joseph blush. "These things happen," one lady said after a while. You'll be fine, honey. Now, if these contractions keep coming, that's when you know it's time. But if it's only one, it could be a day, it could be a week. Everyone's different." The ladies laughed and moved on, unconcerned. "I guess it's normal," Mary said. Joseph helped her back onto the donkey. They crossed the flat lands into the fertile Jordan Valley, heading south toward Jerusalem. The road led through a forest fed by the Jordan River. Attacks were not uncommon in this region. Wild animals and thieves had plenty of shelter to hide in. "I'm a little nervous to sleep out here tonight, Joseph," Mary said. "Is it safe?" "Well, we're in a large group of people, and some of the men are guarding us," Joseph said reassuringly. "Everything will be fine." As he drifted off to sleep, he was a little nervous himself. In the middle of the night, with the moon directly overhead, Joseph awoke to people's voices. Then a scream. But not a human scream, more like a high-pitched shriek. a roar. A lion. I ended today's story with the lion because of the fertile Jordan Valley. It's not exactly the way the Bible describes the Jordan Valley is not exactly like we see it today. We kind of think of Israel as this kind of wilderness desert region, kind of a lot of brown and dead, and yet in the scriptures we see that whole region would have been just filled with trees, would have been a really lush valley when when Joshua and the 12 spies went into the land. They saw the most fertile land you could ever imagine, and a huge agricultural land. And I would assume lots and lots of wild animals, as we see throughout the Old Testament. We see, for example, David killing a lion and Samson killing a lion. We see lions mentioned all throughout Proverbs. And so it would have been much more likely, I believe, to have seen lions back in those days than it is today. I think the wildlife would have been much more abundant. At least that's how it seems from the rest of the scriptures. Now, as far as the timing of this census or this taxation goes, a lot has been written about this and exactly what actual year Jesus was born. Actually trying to pinpoint the exact date or season of year or exact time. Not going to get into all the details around that. There's good evidence that it could have very well been in this time of year. Some would say it's April, but there'd be good evidence to suggest that this December time of year would have just as likely been as any other time of year. And I can't prove that. The scriptures don't exactly say when that was. But regardless, they're having to take this journey from Nazareth to Bethlehem. And as a crow flies, it's about 70 miles, but not wanting to pass through Samaria, they would have gone from Nazareth, and it would have been caravans of people many a times. It probably wasn't that they were just traveling alone, but for safety in numbers, they would have traveled likely with a caravan of people and a lot of travelers along the way. And many of the Jews would cross over the Jordan River and then go south, whatever it is, 50, 60 miles, and then cross back over the Jordan River and go far out of their way just to avoid Samaria because of those racial tensions between them. We're not exactly sure which route they took, but a journey that long would have likely taken several days, over a week, perhaps up to 2 weeks if she's 9 months pregnant. And so I wrote this at a time when my wife was pregnant, and we were going through all the same exact things that Mary was going through. So the birth story of Mary being pregnant and having to go through some of these things, I just had such high respect for Mary and Joseph after watching what my wife went through as a pregnant lady. And it's a wonderful time, but just imagine riding a donkey. The scriptures also don't say if she rode a donkey, but we presume that she did. But just making a journey under any conditions in those days at 9 months pregnant would have been very, very difficult. And so again, humanizing the characters of the story is just a really fascinating thought experiment. I like doing that. We don't know exactly what they said. My quotations of their dialogue are definitely not from the scriptures, and yet it's just fun to imagine them as actual people going through an actual pregnancy, and just an interesting thought. So I hope that was a help to you. This next one will continue their journeys into the land, and there's no room in the inn. So we'll talk about that in our next video. We'll see you then.